Welcome back to the Crochet Kaleidoscope, my friends over at yarnspirations.com. I have a beautiful shawl for you today, the Kaleidoscope Shawl by Yarnspirations. And what this is going to do is that it's an easy repeat. So there's a lot of written words here, but once you understand it, it's really quite simple. So we're gonna start off by getting the shell mesh first, and then we then go into the box mesh. And then we then go back to the shell and etc. So I'm going to demonstrate for you rows number 1 through 15 today, and then it says once you get to row 1 through 15 done, you're going to repeat 6 through 15 3 more times. So you go all the way back to number 6 all the way through 15. Once you see it how it's gonna work, it's actually not hard. And then eventually you'll have to then finish with doing rows number 6 through 10 just one last time, and then that's where we're gonna pick up the border. Let me show you my sample and I'll demonstrate what I'm going to be doing today. So here's my sample here, and what we have is that we have the first set of a repeat. So here's our setup section, the beginning shell mesh, the setup shell mesh, and then we're going to then do the box mesh. And then you're back to the shell and then back to the box. So what's gonna happen on this particular one is that I'm gonna demonstrate it all the way to this level here, and you're going to repeat this section here again and again and again. And at the very end of this, you're going to have the border. So the border will be attaching to the end of the box mesh section like so. So I'm gonna leave this off to the side, get myself started on a new one so I can bring you back here to demonstrate how that's done. So you can grow this out as big as you want to, as long as you end with the box mesh. So that's what we're going to be doing today, and let's get ourselves started right now. The delicious yarn that you're seeing today is called Red Heart Unforgettable. It is a slow transition and it is really remarkable on how it will work up, and it's really quite delicate and soft. So we're gonna be using a size H 5mm crochet hook today, and let's begin our journey now. So the way the pattern starts off, it has you doing a magic ring, but you can also do a chain if you wish. So I'll show you the magic ring first. So lay it down, there's no knots, lay it down, and you're going to put it into your hand like this. And you're just going to rotate over your 2 fingers and then over. We have slower tutorials available on magic rings on our channel here if you wish. You're going to slip up under the first one, grab the second and scoop it and slide your fingers out, and then just chain 1 to lock it. And when you crochet, you want to crochet over top of the 2 strands just like this. So if you don't want to do this, just stay tuned and I'll show you the other way. So when you're doing this, you're going to then start in your chain 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and that will count as a chain 1 and also double crochet. So double crochet and a chain 1. So now you're going to put 3 double crochets into that ring. Make sure you go up over top of the 2 strands. So we have 1 and 2 and 3, and now we're gonna form the point. So to form the point, you are going to chain 2. So 1, 2. In the same ring, you're going to want to put in 3 more double crochet again. So we have 1, 2 and 3, but you're not done. What I need you to do then is just put in a chain 1 space and then a double crochet into the same one. Okay, and then that will finish off the row. Now to finish this off completely, you are going to pull on these 2 strands tightly so it's completely shut, and you want to turn it over to the back side. So get rid of that hook for now and put this onto a tapestry needle. You can't just hide that in really quite easily, so you just want to slide that in with the tapestry needle to lock it. So just staying on the back side, just go back and forth on the stitch work on the back. So we have 1 and then 2 and 3. So that would be how you would do it, and then therefore you can start then by starting your next row. So you can cut that safely out. Okay, and then you can begin. So then you can start on row number 2 from this point. So you want to turn your work and start row number 2. I'm gonna demonstrate for those that don't like to do magic rings a different way, just in case this is of interest to you, but just hold for me here if you're doing it this way, or fast forward in the video at this moment. Okay, for those that would like to start off with the chain instead of a magic circle or a magic ring, what you can do is just start with the hook. So get the one on the hook already and just chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is how I did my sample. In the very first chain way back here, I want you to put in 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. And then we're gonna create the point, so you're gonna chain 2, so 1, 2, and then in the same spot you're gonna put in 3 more double crochet again, noticing that I'm putting the straggler so it's around on the inside of that stitch. So there's 3 on this side, followed by a chain 1 and then another double crochet into that one, and then that would complete then the first row as well. So whether you wanted to do a magic ring or this, you can just take this strand here just with the tapestry needle, just hide it in, and either way you're good to go. So we're gonna go on to row number 2, and the rest of it is going to be the same for everybody. So I'm gonna hide in my loose end now, and I'll meet you back here in just a moment. So we're now moving on to row number 2. So if you were like this, we turned it and then start row number 2. So this will be the same for everybody regardless if you started it with a magic ring or just the way I just demonstrated. Let's begin row number 2. Row number 2 we're gonna chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in this same space that you have, it's a chain 1 space that you have, you want to apply 3 more double crochets into that same spot. So 1, 2, and 3. And noticing that I'm not gonna chain 1 after that, but I'm gonna head right to the point next, and in the point when you have this stitch it'll be 3 double crochet first, followed by a chain 2 and 3 more double crochet. So you'll have that on your points when you're having this type of stitch. Finally you're already at the other side, so you're gonna go into the space first, and I'm gonna show you something different. Okay, so we're gonna put 3 double crochets in first, and then it says to chain 1. Now it says to put that last double crochet in the same space. I disagree with that. I want to put it right into the chain itself to hold it. If you put it right and lock it right with the chain, it can never shift, so it'll keep the edging looking really nice. So you can decide what you want to do with this. So patterns are only suggestions, and that was the end of row number 2. Let's turn to work and do row number 3. In row number 3 we're still gonna continue with this particular stitch work. So you're gonna always chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the space, the chain 1 space, you're going to apply 3 more double crochet in there. So 1, 2, and 3, and then come into the next space between the 2 groups right there, and you're going to put in 3 double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, and now the next one is going to be the point. So you're gonna put in 3 double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, followed by a chain 2, and then 3 double crochet again. So that when you have the stitch it's 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Now we're gonna come down the other side, come in between the 2 groups, fill that in, 3 double crochet, and the way that I'm gonna end is my alternative way of ending. Okay, I already demonstrated that once, but I'll show you again. So come into the space first between the last group and that chain 4 that you had. So 1, 2, 3, and it states to chain 1 after that and go right into the space, but I would go right into a chain instead, and therefore it'll hold that in a position permanently. And that was row number 3. Turn your work and let's do number 4. Row number 4 is the same stitch, so you're gonna chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, come into the space between the first group and that first post and put in 3 double crochet, and then come into the spaces between the groups all the way to the point, 3 double crochet each. I'll just quieten it up. Remember that the point is the same, 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. The point is next, so do that one. Okay, and come to the space on the other side going down. I always think the point is like the top of a peak and everything else is going down. So you're going up on one side, go down on the other. In my head, that's how I think of it. Okay, and then the very last one here, come into the space between the last group and that chain 4. And then chain 1 and then just go right into the chain itself or into the space, whatever you prefer. That was row number 4. Let's turn our work and do row number 5. Okay, number 5 is the same, so I'm just gonna be quiet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then in the space. So just fill in all the spaces with 3 double crochet. I'll keep the camera rolling and I'll just be quiet now. Okay, and coming all the way to the end. This is the end of row number 5. Make sure you chain 1 and then 1 double crochet in the turning chain. Okay, so row number 6 is what we're gonna do next, and this is the start of the repeat coming up next. In row number 6 all the way through 15, this is going to be the repeat. So it's going to be from here all the way to the end of here. When we get started on the next row, what we need to do is that we need to establish the box stitch that we have, the box mesh, and it's actually really quite easy. So you're gonna chain 4 and you're going to double crochet in the first space. Okay, that's that between that first group and the end. You're going to chain 1 and come into the middle one of that group, chain 1, then come into the space between the 2 groups, chain 1, and you're gonna do this all the way to the top. So your very last one is gonna be in the middle of the last group, chain 1, and then you're going to do your corner, which is gonna be a V-stitch, which we will talk about. So a V-stitch is double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet, and then you're gonna come down the other side as you're working it. Now what you're going to have to concentrate on the most later on is after you get this section done, where you are going to get confused most likely will be right here in these 2 stitches here. Because we have to go every other stitch, you have to make sure that you get the one before this point and the one after, and we'll cover that when we get there. So that's where I think the hang up is gonna be, if you're ever gonna have a hang up in this one. Let's begin to do the box mesh. This is row number 1, which is, or sorry, row number 6, which is the repeat of our pattern. So let's begin row number 6. We're gonna chain 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. In the space between the first group and the end, you're going to put in a double crochet. Then you're going to chain 1 and come to the middle one of the next group and double crochet. Chain 1 to come into the space between the 2 groups. Chain 1, then the middle of the next group. It's the middle double crochet. Chain 1 and then come into the space between. So let's do this all the way to the point. I'll just be quiet now. So this is the last group before the space, or before the corner. So chain 1 after it and then come right into the corner point. So it's gonna be a V-stitch, so it'll be a double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet, and that'll keep it in the mesh configuration. chain 1 after that and just turn it and then start going down the other side. So jump to the middle one to begin, chain 1 and then jump into the space after that. And let's do this all the way to the end. Getting close to the end, I'm coming into the last group. It's the middle one, chain 1, and now you're gonna come into this space, but I'm gonna recommend a change. So just come into the space first, double crochet, chain 1, and it says to double crochet right into that same space. Again, I'm recommending go right into the chain itself, and then that will hold that position permanently forever instead of sliding in and out that chain. Things slide when you go on a chain. So turn your work and let's begin row number 7. So 7, 8, 9 and 10 are what we just did. The difference is that we're gonna be playing only in the mesh. So you're gonna chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then coming into the first stitch only. So right at the base of the first stitch, double crochet, chain 1, and now you're gonna work within these double crochets. So come to the next double crochet, okay, and double crochet and then chain 1, and then come to the next double crochet and chain 1 and next double crochet, and I'll be quiet all the way to the point. So here's the one that's at the point, chain 1 and then do the point itself. So double crochet, chain 2 and double crochet to keep that point going, chain 1 and then just start on your first double crochet after it and work your way down. Now you're coming all the way to the other side. So you're coming into the last double crochet before the end, chain 1, go into the space, double crochet, chain 1, and then it says to go in the space, but I would go right into the chain to finish that off. And that was the end of row number 7. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna get you started on a repeat for this part. So let's just talk about that next. So turn your work and let's get ready for 8, 9 and 10. So rows number 8, 9 and 10 are exactly what you have. The only difference in the instructions is that it's getting bigger. So remember how to start is just chain 4 and then go right into the first space. Sorry, this one is going right into the stitch work itself. The space is when you have that other stitch that you're using. Chain 1 after it and then come right into the first double crochet that you'll run into, and then chain 1 and then go to the next double crochet and etc. So you're matching this to have it all boxed up, if that makes any sense. You're gonna come right to the corner here, the point. It'll be a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and then you'll work your way down. So it's exactly how you just did it, and then eventually you'll hit the other side, and don't forget that last space has a double crochet, chain 1 and then a double crochet, and I would put it in the turning chain, but it's exactly what I just demonstrated in row number 7. So please do rows number 8, 9 and 10 now, and meet me at the end of that, and we'll transition back to the other stitch for row number 11 in just a moment. So I've now just finished up to row number 10. So row number 10 is done. So you should be able to count 5 of these sets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're now going to transfer back to this stitch here for the next rows from 11 to 15. Then you're gonna come back to this here at the and keep on repeating. So when you're ready for the border, you have to end with the row number 10 which then gets you ready for the final border crossing. What we have to do now is that we have to then transition at this point, going to row number 11 back to here, and let's begin to do that. So let's move on to row number 11 next. As I mentioned, for row number 11, where you're gonna get hung up will probably be right here in the point. So you're gonna end up with a 3 double crochet in the space before the point. You'll end up doing the point and then the one right after the point. So when I did this before, I accidentally skipped over that one, so then I was off when I came down the other side. So just watch for that and let's begin. We're going to start off then and we're going to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like what you already know here, but we have to just put it into the right space. So in the first space here, okay, just right in between, we're gonna double crochet in the first space 3 times. So 1, 2, and 3. We're then going to skip the next space and go to the second over and put in 3 double crochet, and we're gonna do this all the way to the point. Okay, skip the next space, go into the second one over, 3 double crochet. So I'm gonna be quiet now right to the point. So I'm right to the point, you know, and the point is next, so I'm just in the space just before the point, which is where I should be. And then you're gonna jump right into the point. Okay, so you'll put in your 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet in the point. When you get after the point, you have to come into the first space right out of the point. So when I was doing my trial, I missed that one because I thought I would have to skip, but I didn't. So just go into the first space, and then once that one's done, skip and then go to the second one over, and we'll do that all the way to the end. So I'll be quiet now as we make our way to the end. So I'm in the last space before the very end. I'm filling it with 3 double crochet like we did before, and then to finish that, chain 1, and it says to go in the same space, but I would go into a chain to finish that last one. So after you did the chain 1, just double crochet into last, and then that will conclude off then row number 11. You're going to turn your work, and let's begin row number 12. So row number 12, 13, 14, and 15 is what we know from down here. So let me just get you started, and then I'm gonna leave those for you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, come into the same space and put in 3 double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, and then just go in the space between the 2 groups, the next one. So 1, 2 and 3. You know, you'll do that all the way to the point. The point, remember, is 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, and then you'll start coming down the other side. So it's already what you know here. It's just it's bigger, so therefore they have to have more words, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to do that. So this is going to be row number 12, and then you'll do 13, 14 and 15. So you should see 5 rows of this before you then switch back to the box. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just leave that with you. I will do my remaining of the rows. We'll quickly talk about it, and then we'll talk about the border after that. So let me do this, and I'll be right back in just a moment. So a few seconds ago I just left you, but it's just taken me a few minutes to get here. So I find this project so addictive because this yarn is so fabulous. I am just watching this yarn just changing colors, and it's just like, oh, it's perfect. It just hits checks every invisible box for me. So we've just now finished row number 15. So to restart again, you're gonna come back to row number 10 and do number 15 again, and you're gonna do that a total of 3 times, but you can do it as many times as you want to. Just note that if you change the size of this, you will change the yarn quantity, so you could do a smaller or larger. So what I'm going to do is that I'm gonna bring up my other sample, and then I'm gonna show you how to do the final border. So I'm gonna leave the rest of the repeating for you to do because you know what to do at this point. And we're gonna start with the Picot shell row, and then there's also a row along the edging here, which is the shoulder row as well. Let's begin, and we're gonna start with the Picot shell row, which will then pick up. So we have to bring back our other sample and make sure that we finish on the box mesh. So row number 10 is where we have to start then the final. Let's begin that story in just a second. As I mentioned, once you're ready for the border, you will end on row number 10, which will be in this mesh section here. We're going to treat it like we're treating it down here, but we're going to provide a Picot shell. And how we're going to do that is that we want you to chain 4. So 1, 2, and then 3 and 4. And in the next space, instead of just doing the 3 double crochet like we had been, we're gonna double crochet, and then we're going to do a double crochet picot. So to do that, what we have to just do is just put in a double crochet, and then chain 3, and then just slide in the top of that double crochet that you just made and pull through and through, and that'll create a little bump there. You're gonna come back into the same space and double crochet again. Now to move to the next one, you're gonna skip the next space and go to the second over. So it's just like you had been doing before. So it's a double crochet, and then the next one is a double crochet picot. So 1, 2, 3, and then sliding in like that, and then pull through and through, and then finish that space with another double crochet. So you're gonna do that all the way to the point, and I'm just gonna explain it because it's actually that simple. So you're just gonna do it like it was this section here. So eventually you'll come in, and in the point here you're going to put in a double crochet, a double crochet picot, and then a double crochet, chain 2 to turn, and then start the point again of double crochet, and then double crochet picot, and then double crochet again, and then starting in the very next one right out of there, just like you had been doing down here, just begin to do that all the way to the end. I think it's actually pretty simple. So you just have to just keep your moseying along, so just skipping and etc. So that would be how you would do that one. So once you're done with that, you can just go right to the end. So the very end, you're going to do the space as you had been. Okay, so a double crochet picot, double crochet, chain 1, and then I was doing it in the turning chain, but a double crochet in that turning chain if you wish, and then that'll finish that. So I'm gonna move on to the shoulder edge because I think this is pretty self-explanatory, and let's begin to do that next. The siding edge, once you're ready, so you'll have the picot showing here, the picot edging, but to do the side edge you're just gonna chain 1, and in the side of each one of these posts just space out a single crochet. So there'll be 2 of those in the side of that one, and then come to the next one, 2 single crochets in the next one, and then in the next one like that. So the only time it changes is that you're going to then put 2 into each one, except for the very middle one section right here. You're just gonna put 1 into there and then jump into. So you'll do 2 on this one, you'll do 1 right in the middle, and then 2 and go all the way to the edge, and then that's where you'll fasten off and then weave in your ends. Make sure when you weave in your ends, let me just quickly demonstrate that because you're probably wondering if you're not familiar with crochet. So once you're done with the weaving in your ends, you're just gonna leave a longer tail. So when you have to change your yarn balls, you wanna do the same thing. Grabbing a tapestry needle, and you just want to drag it in behind the stitch work. So just right up underneath, so don't impede with the edging at all, and just stay on the underside, and then coming through, and then back in the other direction a second time, and then back in the other direction a third time. And make sure you don't change the shape of that. So just make sure everything stays nice and easy, and therefore once you go back and forth a total of 3 times you can safely cut it into the project, and you should never have that ever followed on you. And that's how you would do that. So this is the end of the Kaleidoscope. It's a stunning example of creativity, and I love this particular project, and I hope that you will love it too. And this is Mikey on behalf of the Crochet Kaleidoscope with my friends over at yarnspirations.com. We'll see you.